Hello, everybody. Now, you'll have noticed that we've been covering machine vision in quite some depth of late. And there's always been a lot of complexity about machine vision systems. And sometimes that complexity has put people off of delving into the subject. Well, today we're going to talk to Mr. Neil Harvey of Omron. Neil handles their machine vision side. He's got quite an interesting area. So, Neil, thank you very much for your time. First of all,
Pleasure.
can you tell us what the machine vision offering is from Omron, please?
Hello. Yes. Yeah, I'd like the opportunity to do that. Some people may know that Omon's got a fairly long history in machine vision, going back to the days of simple contrast sensors and things like that, basic sensors. Over the years, the last sort of 10, 20 years, we've got a range of products that have evolved into, as you already pointed out, could be perceived as quite complex, advanced machine vision systems. Um, we call that our FH series, and these allow multiple camera connections. They allow multitude of different functions. They've got AI incorporated in there as options as well. Very high performance systems. More recently, we try to bring that down to a lower level by what we call generating and building a smart sensor range of vision products called the FHV7. And we've started to bring that platform down to a more accessible level. Still suitable for a bigger, large range of applications. Now, more recently than that, we're starting to look at AI as a way forward. We want that complexity level to be flipped over into something more simplistic in terms of the software platform and how operators and engineers integrate with vision in order to set up. So we brought out a very basic, simple AI vision sensor based on the FH series in terms of hardware, but incorporated a very simple software platform, enabling people with very little experience to integrate and navigate and set up a range of applications.
Okay. Now, this is interesting because you've mentioned AI a couple of times there. Why is just to reiterate, why is AI such an intrinsic part of what you're offering?
Well, AI, we're all familiar with the term AI, and it's a big beast, really. And
Mm.
what AI actually means, does anybody really know? I've had numerous discussions with people talking about what we mean and what the industry means when talking AI. What we're trying to sort of put forward is a familiar kind of environment where AI means to some degree we've got some level of intelligence in the system, which hopefully we can utilize to our advantage by creating, in this case, vision systems which are much easier for people to integrate with and use. You know, when a lot of applications don't require high levels of complexity, or indeed sometimes it's very difficult for engineers and customers to look at an application and decide how do I set this up on a conventional basis. When we talk about AI, we're talking about inspections really based around checking for defects or checking different types of products or presence absence, things like that, or classifying products. So areas really where it's very much based on image data. We're not talking measurements, we're not talking pick and place robotics and things like that. We're talking about features and definitions as described by image data. And that's really what the AI functionality is based on.
So, just honing in on who is the sort of ideal customer for this area of product?
Everybody really. We deal vision very much within all industries, whether it be automotive, food and commodities, pharmaceuticals, logistics, and so on. What we're looking to do is bring vision to a more accessible level. We're dealing with OEMs, dealing with end user customers. There's still a lot of people that really don't have a lot of exposure or experience with vision, but potentially have a wealth of applications that require something more than just basic sensors, where we're looking at, as I said already, predominantly looking at inspecting products for presence absence, for different types and classifications, and ultimately defects. As I said, it's everything we can describe it in images. So really trying to bring that level of access down across the board. So really, the answer to that is anybody and everybody potentially is going to be interested in this kind of product, and particularly those that don't know much about vision, but will have potentially an array of applications, potential applications suited to this expanded area within sort of sensor type applications.
Wow. Okay. That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. So a lot of the complexity, which causes sometimes the fear of
Yeah.
approaching this subject, is actually something that you're dealing with, really, by doing this
Yes.
on that side. Okay, so Neil, you've done a great job of whetting our appetite. You've got us on the hook now. Where do people start? How can they find out more?
They find out more by after looking at this, going to the Omron website and talking to us. You know, there's no cost associated with contacting Omron and having a chat with us about any potential applications. What I'm finding is, we want to make this easy. This is an easy product selection in terms of we have only a few models. Essentially, it's an all-in-one solution. You just have to decide different what sort of lens you want, things like that. You know, the software platform is very straightforward. The setup essentially is image based. You log images, you create a folder of okay and not good images. You then essentially press a train button, sit back and wait, and hopefully then you get the solutions kind of presented back to you in very simple graphical terms that will indicate straight away, yes, I've got that, it's going to work, or not quite, maybe we need a little bit more data. I personally done applications across food for looking at orientation of vegetable products, through to looking at orientation of sachets on a production packaging line, that they're not the wrong type of sachet, or they're not crooked or misplaced, and things like that. Checking for labels, white goods as another example, scratches and things like that. So I think any industry, any area, if you've got sensor applications, maybe too complex for conventional sensors, but something where visually we can present to a camera differences and types of products, and this is going to be an area of interest. And get in touch with us, and we'll look at every application and discuss that with a view to providing a proof of concept and a hardware proposal.
Right. Okay. Neil, that sounds really good. That sounds really good. So in simple terms, it's worth having the conversation. There's no reason
Yes,
not to. Yeah,
yes, yep,
I, I, I definitely get that. Neil, thank you so much for taking us through that and explaining
yep,
how Omron are helping their customers. Now, if you're watching this and you'd like to find out more, we're going to provide a link as always so that you can follow that link and find out a little bit more. But it does seem to me to make an awful lot of sense to contact the team at Omron. Talk to Neil. Um,
mm,
he knows a lot about the industry. He knows a lot about the subject. And a conversation really is going to cost nothing, but it could potentially lead you to something very worthwhile. So thank you very much for watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next video.